We got to kind of get in communications with the Dolphins. I know you guys are having a high school media day, kind of virtual, first time ever virtual. But kind of how we always start all of our episodes is kind of by, having you kind of introduce yourself to everybody. And like we do with all the coaches or former players that we've had, kind of, give everyone your football background first, your football journey from playing days and kind of how that brought you to where you are now.
Yeah. So, I started playing football when I was 6 years old, and that's probably my wife and I joke around that I've recently got my master's degree, and before I got that, I would tell people I had a master's degree in football because I've done, I learned how to play football before I mastered learning how to read, before I mastered how to count. And it's the one thing I've done all my life. And honestly, every good thing that's ever happened in my life has come through football. And I had a great opportunity to play at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. Then I went on to University of Miami and played 7 years in the National Football League for the Redskins, Dolphins, and Atlanta Falcons. And it's been a cool journey, to be around the game from the front side of playing the game, and then from behind the scenes, working in the community department, specifically the youth football department, where I get to grow the game of football and help coaches and kids play the game and grow the game and make sure that this game is healthy 100 years from now. And the Dolphins give me the opportunity to be able to empower young people to play the game and equip coaches to coach it. We have our high school media day coming up tomorrow. It's on June 24th, and we're going to have probably somewhere between 500 to 800 coaches and athletes participating. And we're going to have our entire rookie class, every first round pick, second round pick, all 21 draft picks and undrafted free agents will be in attendance, and they'll be talking about social media, social justice, financial literacy, and I'm forgetting one, but it's going to be a cool day. Sports nutrition. So they're going to be discussing these topics and their journey and how to deal with these topics. So we want to make sure we equip people who are playing the game of football on the high school level with those, make sure they have all the information they need in those topics.
As a two football coaches like we are, me and Coach Walls, I think that the nutrition part is huge in high school football. I know recently here in Oklahoma, probably in the last 10 years, all of the top 6A schools was the highest division in Oklahoma. We started feeding our kids one, sometimes two meals every single day.
Wow. How do you afford that?
It's kind of comes out of the budget first. And so it's not, really nice things, but it's peanut butter and jelly every day after workouts. Every day the kids can make their own peanut butter and jelly. I think another school across town, they've got the little Crustables that they get in huge packs. That's through Booster Club. And then because we have a certain percentage of kids that are on free and reduced lunches at our high school, we got a really big high school, but the state feeds our kids two meals every day, Monday through Friday. And so we've got it scheduled around to where they do that through food trucks throughout the city. And we get a food truck that just so happens to park right outside the football facility.
Just so happens.
That's exactly right.
So I coach high school football at St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And, one of the biggest challenges that we have, even though we're a private school, the challenge that we have every day is you have kids from all over the county coming to this location. And how do by the time they finish working out, how do you feed them? How do you, get them nutrition? It's hard. We do the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but we challenge a lot of our kids just to bring your own meals, make them at home, and bring them. So it's interesting that you guys have such a full service there.
It is. It's a great deal from, for like you said, from the state and then from our own budget, because you lose out on especially in college. You see all those college and I'm sure you've seen in the NFL guys really, really blow up because it's so important. And forever we've stressed, hey, 30 minutes after workout, go home and eat. But, there's some kids that are busy doing other stuff, and there's some kids that, just can't afford to eat when they're supposed to. So for us to be able to do that, and then, again, we're really lucky. We're a big school, and so we've got a strength coach / nutrition not expert, but nutrition guy on our staff. But most high schools, and I know when I was coming through our high school, most high schools don't have that. They're trying to find, hey, their coaches tell them lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is, and so it's hard to find as a kid. It's findable, but it's not easy, especially with all the different things out there. So I would assume with you guys with the Dolphins, that would be an awesome experience for those high school kids to hear it from a bunch of NFL guys that just went through college and had been at that part where, probably for me anyways, when I was at the University of Houston, that was when I learned the most about nutrition when it comes to sport-specific nutrition.
And that's the goal. I mean, so many high school coaches don't have the resources to be able to educate their kids or to be able to communicate to their kids in some of these topics. And when an NFL player is drafted, from the moment they walk into the NFL, each team has they have a curriculum that they walk their players through. For instance, Caleb Thornhill, who's over player development for the Miami Dolphins, from the moment that those athletes are hired as draft picks, he's in their ear, he's educating them, he's walking them through a curriculum on financial literacy, he's getting them in front of our nutritionists on sports nutrition. He's making sure that, financial literacy, because some of these guys come into a lot of money. And how do you make sure that they are able to balance that? Because if think about, I mean, I don't know about your family, but in my family, when I was a kid, we never talked about money. My parents never discussed, how the lights get paid. I showed up and they were on.
Right.
So you have a lot of kids who are coming from college who have never paid a bill, never written a check, and never really had real responsibility of money. And now they come into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And how do they manage that? So the goal is to help them understand what money means, understand the difference between a liability and an asset, understand, what's important and what's not important, and really how to say no. How to say no to all the influences around you are going to be pulling on all your resources, your time, your money, your effort, your energy, so that you can focus on being a great football player. And I think Coach Flores has done a great job of building a team of people from a nutrition standpoint, from an education standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, to make sure that the athletes that we have on roster and the athletes that we're bringing in will have all the resources that they need to be successful so they can focus on football.
Yeah, it would be. I think it's a difficult thing for anybody, but especially people that now have a lot of money to deal with. Their mind would go in 1,000 different ways. I mean, those people that really take care of their money and that's their only job, that takes them 24/7. They're thinking about where they invest, what they do with their investments, and with your athletes, obviously, you'd like for them to be thinking about football a bunch of the time, but not being, even setting up and like, hey, I'm going to pay this person to take care of my money, and then that person kind of, screws them over or doesn't do what's right. And I think you've seen that happen. Guys trying to make the right decisions, but trusting the wrong person or giving it to them fully and not being able to look over it. I think that's huge. Is that something that you guys also go over with these high school kids that you're talking to? Obviously to probably a little bit lesser scale, but it would have been something I would have loved to hear coming out of high school.
Well, I think that's what it's about. Tomorrow, when we have this, it's going to be at 3:30 tomorrow. And some of the questions that we ask these players gives them the latitude to tell their story, because I think that we all learn through stories. We all learn through other people's experiences. I'm a strong believer that if you go through something that is negative, I don't have to go through it. I mean, if you touch that stove and say, I put my hand on that stove and it burned my hand pretty good, well, I'm going to believe you. And I think these athletes, number one, they have the bandwidth from a celebrity standpoint to reach high school students, because these students want to be where they are. So when they speak, they're going to be listening. And we believe in the hour and a half that we have with these athletes, that they're going to transform some of these kids, because you have kids who the teacher can't reach, the coach can't reach, but because they want to go to the National Football League, and we're going to have several draft picks, we were saying, hey, you know what, I messed up and it almost destroyed me, or hey, I've done it the right way every day and it helped me get to where I want to be. So they're going to be able to talk about their stories and talk about their journeys, whether it be financial literacy, whether it be sports nutrition. Some of these, you're going to have players say, hey, when I was in college, I didn't take care of my body very well my first couple of years, and I wasn't growing, or I wasn't, having the impact on the football field. But after I changed my diet, now, I gained 20 pounds. I was able to run a little bit faster, and to be able to communicate that to a high school student, they're going to be able to hear them, because sometimes I think a lot of high school students listen, but they don't hear. So I think they're going to walk in with an ear to hear what each one of these players are talking about, so they can walk away with something to help them be better in their sport.
Coach Russell, the thing I keep coming back to as I listen to you talk and kind of hear your story is you hear the importance that football has had in your life, from a young age. And then not only that, it's opened so many doors for you. I get the feeling that, even if you wouldn't have played in the NFL, football would have made such an impact on you that you would have gone on and done successful things because of some of the things that you've talked about that you guys are going to provide, but also that the game of football can provide a young person.
When I look at my life, and I said I started playing football when I was 6, I mean, every good lesson I learned on the football field. I mean, actually, I was 5 years old, because I try not to tell anybody, because it was illegal for me to play at 5.
Allegedly.
Back in '79, when I was 5 years old, you had to be 6. So I turned 6 later. When I turned 6, then I could play, but I still practiced and I still did things. But I remember watching my brothers who were on the same team as me, being able to watch them compete and be able to pattern my effort and my energy after them, to be able to listen to a coach say, "Hey, son, that's not good enough. It's not good enough just to show up every day and practice. You have to show up every day and practice and do it correctly and bring your best effort." And I learned those lessons early. And I tell kids all the time, like, effort and energy solves a lot of problems. Like, you come with the right mindset, the right effort, and right energy, I'll tell you, you can be a good football player. Because there's a lot of football players who, when you look at the measurables, aren't the prototype athlete, but they can play football. For instance, Zach Thomas, his locker was next to mine, and I remember seeing him for the first time. I was like, "That's Zach Thomas? Heck, I'm taller than him, and heck, we're about the same size." I remember feeling a little confident that, okay, I got a chance to compete, until I realized that his effort and energy was his superpower. Like, literally, he came in before the coaches, left after the coaches. He watched more film. He would literally take notes to the coaches and say, "Hey, coach, this is what I saw. What do you guys think?" And he would have debates. And at that time, I didn't have the capacity to do it, but I learned from him. And I was able to watch him and pattern my football career after him. I think a lot of reasons I was able to play 7 years is because of the things I learned from him. And I think that's the goal, like, for these kids to walk in to this Zoom meeting tomorrow and walk away something that they can use for the rest of their life. Because, yes, maybe they don't play in the National Football League, but they can learn something from football that they can use if they become an accountant, or if they become a husband, or if they become, a father, whatever aspect of their life or whatever part of their journey they're going to be going through. Hopefully they learn something tomorrow that's going to help them be a great football player and a great person.
Well, you mentioned, when they hop on the Zoom call, how different is that going to be for you guys? Because it is, everything's changing, everything's new, and now, you're on this Zoom call with different guys, and I'm sure I'm sure it's hard enough just to wrangle everyone and get everyone when it's not football season together, but now, make sure everyone's internet works at wherever they are. How was it going to that? Or are you looking forward to, a little bit new experience challenge? Talk to me a little bit about that.
It's definitely different. I mean, for a high school football student, when you're sitting there and you have a computer in front of you, they have so many distractions. Our goal is to eliminate those distractions by, through the entire event, change up who they're seeing. So, we have different players for different sections. So we're not bringing all the players and they see them all at one time. We're making sure that they always have somebody to look forward to. So, when they're watching our team nutritionists speak, they know 5 minutes later, they're going to have 7 NFL players talking about nutrition. So we've tried to diversify the day so that they have different things that we're going to be talking about at different times of the day. And then also make it engaging, where they've asked questions. So we're going to make sure that we say their name. And Johnny from such and such high school is asking, Tua, what do you do for a meal plan to make sure that, you have enough energy for game day? So I think we're going to try to make it interactive as much as we can. And I think it's definitely different. I Zoom with my high school football kids twice a week, talking football. And I think kids are starting to get to a place where they feel more comfortable. I don't think this is something that we're going to do where this is, we're going to eliminate the in-person, but it does give you the ability to broadly reach a lot of people in a short amount of time. Where when we do it in person, it's a lot more expensive, and you can only fit 1,000 people in the room. Well, we can fit endless amount of people. Whoever want to watch, they can log in and watch it. So we're excited for the potential of it. We're excited for the opportunity to be able to serve these young men and women. Also, we were able to open it up to not just football players, but now it's basketball, baseball, softball, girls volleyball, track. So we're able to open up to all the sports, and then we're able to open up to other teams in other states. So every team, every high school that our football players are from, they've invited their teams as well. So it becomes a multi-state event. People from all over the country can now log in and participate.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about, some of kind of the headliners? I know you'd mentioned, Tua, a lot of kids and quarterbacks are going to be excited to see him, and obviously a lot of Dolphins fans. So, some of the headlining rookies that might be showing up. And then I was going to, kind of selfishly ask you, with Coach Flores, kind of coming in this year, maybe talk a little bit about kind of his overall philosophy and vision for the Dolphins, because I think the future for your guys' program down there is really, really bright, and I'm excited to follow myself.
We're going to have all of our first-round picks. We're going to have Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. We're going to have Noah. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's from Auburn. He's a cornerback from Auburn.
DB from Auburn. Yep.
Yeah, he's a DB from Auburn. So we're going to have the entire draft, all the draft picks, as well as the undrafted free agents. Robert Hahn and Rakeem Davis. Brandon Jones from Texas, Solomon Kindley, I think he's from Georgia. So we're gonna have every draft pick that we have, and I think that's what makes this event so special, is that we've never done it before. We've never had an entire rookie class in one place. So you're gonna be have the potential to talk to all the athletes in South Florida area. To be able to invite all the athletes and say, hey, come and listen to these guys, I think is a great benefit for us. And I think when you look at the type of players that's going to be on that call, you kind of see Coach Flores' vision. He wants highly intelligent, highly effective, disciplined football players. And if you look at what's gone on over the year that he was here last year, you saw a difference in how many penalties that we had, how many, the determination from a team that started only winning, I forget, maybe it was a couple games at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year closing out and going for a run. Like, that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen by accident. That goes because he had vision, that he has a plan that he's implemented. And you can see that Coach Greer and Brian Flores are uniquely tied. That I don't know if you could bring in another coach and they'd be that uniquely tied. Like, even when you watch them walk, they have a chemistry that you only have with someone that you like or like to work with, or you have that you understand their heart. And I think they understand each other in a deeper way. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't work very closely with Coach Flores, but I get to see him from a distance. And I'm excited not only at being an NFL alumni for the Miami Dolphins and a fan, but also just somebody that wants to see the Dolphins do well. Like, I'm excited about what's happening here in South Florida and what's happening there in Miami Gardens. So I can't wait for the season to start, because I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised how we're going to come out of blocks.
Well, I was really excited about the free agent pickup you guys had. Landon Roberts from New England.
Yep.
I get to play with him, and I think he's very underrated, even though he was a captain for the Patriots. I think he's still an underrated guy that you guys picked up. I'm excited to see what he does down in Miami.
Yeah, and they've been very like strategic about how they bring people in. Like, they don't necessarily go out and chase the big fish, even though we did bring in a couple big time free agents. But they're very strategic. He's more ninja secret on finding that right person and bringing them in, and he has a sword opposed to just taking this broad brush and say, I'm going to bring in all these people. He's like, you know what? I'm bringing in this one guy. I'm going to do this, and this one guy is going to do this one thing, and he's trying to grow it through the draft. And I think that's what I'm most excited about, because he's pulling his talent through the draft, and you're seeing more and more guys that we drafted last year get on the football field. And I think you're going to see that trend happen more this year, where we're building this football team for the long haul through the draft, and I believe that we're doing it in a unique and in the right way.
So, Coach, I'm kind of curious, with your story, you played in the NFL and have a chance to go, and obviously you're coaching as well. But what made you, how did it come about you staying with the Dolphins and working with the organization? And I'm sure you had, a million different things that you could have went off and done, but, stayed with football, stayed with the organization. How did that go down? Was that a plan that you had even when you were playing? How'd that all work out for you?
No, it wasn't a plan at all. It was really by accident. I was literally driving down. I think I've been out of I'm sorry, my printer's going off right in the middle.
No worries.
My wife is definitely watch. It's going to be a 500-page document.
she's busy. She got stuff to do. She doesn't have time to wait for you, Coach.
So she does, So it's still going. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but
yeah, we can hear you. It's no big deal.
I was actually driving on the road to meet my wife for dinner, and I got a phone call from the president at the time asking me would I be interested in working for the Dolphins. No, actually, he said, would I be interested in coming in for an interview? And I was like, sure. And I was like, if the president of an organization calls you to come in, the least you can do is show up. So I met with him, and we had a great conversation. And at the end of the conversation, he asked me, would I be willing to work at the organization? And I said, I didn't know. And I went home and thought about it. And a couple of days later, I got a polo and I had a desk. So it was that simple. And years later, I asked him, I said, why did you call me that day? He says, every day my kids, when I was coming off the field from practice, his kids would be at the door asking for autographs. And he said, I was so gracious to them. Like every single day, his kids would come, they would be annoying. They would steal my shoes and my gloves. And he said, I was so kind to him. He said, if I could do that with those kids, imagine what you could do with some resources in our community. So he just believed in me. And, every day I try to make, everyone in the organization proud to be able to serve the community. And I have a great platform that, our leadership at the Dolphins values. And I'm honored to be able to serve our community in that way.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about, that outreach program? I know you guys are doing, obviously this tomorrow. Coach Harper and myself, we've been lucky enough to work with the Broncos actually in Denver, and done, they've had some 7-on-7 events they've done and some lineman challenges. So that's been exciting. But I'm wondering what else the junior Dolphins are doing, or you guys have out in the community, and then again in these trying times, maybe some innovative ways that you guys are kind of modifying that plan a little bit now as the year goes along.
Innovation is definitely the key right now. Troy Drayton, who runs our camps, he has a team of people who are running a virtual football camp. And yesterday was their first day, and it was absolutely amazing. The feedback that he's gotten has just been tremendous to be able to connect these kids who can't, go to camp or who need to social distance, to be able to run a football camp. They can be in their backyard, and he can be at the stadium and walk them through drills and connect them through some of our alumni who's teaching. It's been phenomenal. I mean, we would have never thought a year ago that a virtual camp will work, more or less have to do it. And I think, I think when you have these situations that happen, it causes you to be more creative. I think the event that we're going to be doing tomorrow is a spinoff of our high school media day that we do on a normal basis, where we bring 1,400 athletes to our stadium, and we have all the media outlets interviewing them. And it's kind of like what the SEC or the ACC does, where they bring all the players in and they interview them. Well, we weren't able to do that this year. So we said, you know what, let's flip it. Instead of interviewing the kids, let's have the kids interview the players. So I think because of, COVID-19, it's allowed us to be a little bit more creative and find unique ways to reach a broader group of people. We had to, because of the time frame, we were able to meet with, leaders from youth football, high school football. My boss, who is Rashana Hamilton, she says, hey, you know what? Because we have this time, let's go out and reach out to all of our high schools and youth football leagues and find out what are the challenges in football. So we were able to do Zoom meetings with almost 100 people, and you're talking 30, 40 minutes a call, and be able to connect with each one of these people and talk football and talk about how can the Dolphins serve the community, what needs to change. And before, we would never have the capacity to do that. So to be able to do that and gather that information, it's going to shape and mold us as an organization to better serve our community and better serve the kids that play the game of football.
Well, I know, and we don't have a whole lot of time. I think you got a hard out that you got, some things to do. Obviously, you got a big day coming up. But I also, just doing some research, looking you up a little bit, you've also got, like you said, your own foundation. I believe it's the Russell Education Foundation. I know we're supposed to be talking Dolphins, but we're excited just to talk, a little bit with you. How did you get into that? What is that all about? Because that looks really interesting as well. Like I said, I got to play college at Houston, so with the Texans there, a lot of times we get to be with, some NFL guys have their own foundations and help out the community, and so we get to be a part of that every once in a while. Obviously, it looks like you did the same thing and went and created your own foundation for kids, which obviously you see the impact you're having on kids or how important they are, part of two different, a foundation and with the Dolphins and a high school coach as well. But how did your foundation come about? What do you guys do?
My mom and I, over 20 years ago, sat at a kitchen table and were just talking about our lives and how we can serve our community. And through that conversation, we were able to start an after-school program with 30 kids, and that has grown to over 800 kids a year that we serve. And we serve these kids every day. So over 144 days of the school year, wow. We have 10 centers where kids come to that after-school program, and we have certified teachers teaching them math, science, technology, the process of reading and writing, working on their comprehension. Where they're deficient, we're able to work with them and help them catch up. And it's honestly been a ministry. It's one of the things that in my life that I think I'm uniquely capable of doing, not necessarily from a knowledge standpoint, just because I grew up in certain neighborhoods, and I think I knew a need, and I had the capacity from playing football to be able to bring people together. And we've been able to have this program for almost 21 years. And it's really been cool to be able to be used in that capacity and be able to serve the amount of kids that we serve at that time frame.
All right, I've got two more for you, Coach. So my big one also, when I'm researching you, the big thing that stood out, obviously, other than the NFL and college player, it says on Wikipedia, anyways, that you were a 300-yard hurdle champion in high school. How did that's awesome. That I've always heard. Now, I don't know anything about track. I'm a big offensive lineman that stayed away from the track, but I'd always heard that the tough guys ran the 300-yard hurdles. That was when you had to really dig in to be a 300-yard hurdle guy.
Yeah, it's funny. I was the state track meet. I came in as the favorite to win the 110 hurdles, and I ended up getting third. The guy that won broke the national record on me that year, and I was so upset. I had never been. Honestly, I can't imagine how upset I've been since then. And the 300-meter hurdles were a couple of races later, and I was stalking the race, and literally I told my coaches, like, are you ready? And I remember telling him, I was like, I'm going to run this race, but my heart might stop before my legs. And I just literally just ran it with chaos in my heart, and I finished first. I mean, I threw out the rule book. I just said, I'm going to run it and win it. And Maybe that's what I've been missing in my life.
Just need another challenge, man.
That's exactly right. Well, Coach, so my other one before we let you go is, how long have you been at St. Thomas? And I mean, obviously, if anyone around the country knows about that high school and everything that you guys do with football and how good football is at some of those places like yours in the state of Florida, how long have you been there? And I don't know, tell me about that experience, because that would be, like I said, an unbelievable high school to get to coach some great kids that are going to go on and be great men and also great football players.
Usually when I ask this question, I tell people that I've been there since 1988 because that was my first year in high school. And I went to school there, graduated in 92. And I've always been involved, even when I was in college and even when I was in the National Football League. I would come back and help, and I would coach track or train for football. And I had a great opportunity 3 years ago to come back. The head football coach asked me, he's always asked me, hey, can you come back and coach? And I'm like, I don't have time. I have a full-time job. I don't have time. So he asked me to come out and help his linebacker coach. He just got a new linebacker coach. He says, hey, he's a smart guy. He's never coached. I just need someone to coach him up. So I said, I'll come in. And I took my vacation. So I took my vacation for 3 weeks. I stayed there for 3 weeks, and I have not left.
Oldest trick in the book, Coach. You fell for it. Oldest trick in the book.
But it's great. The kids are great. I enjoy being around the kids, and it keeps you young. And anytime you can coach football, man, it's just an exciting day.
That's exactly right. Our quarterback, John O'Corn, I believe, went to St. Thomas Aquinas, and I don't know when. Been around 2012. So
you know that name, yeah.
Yeah, so he was there. So I had heard about it in college and high school, and so now that I'm back and coaching high school, so that's great. Well, we loved getting to talk to you. If anyone does want to watch this and they want to get on and be a part of it, is it available to any of the high school coaches and kids? Is it only the ones that they've talked to?
Yeah, any high school coach that wants to participate, should be a pretty cool event. We're hoping for close to 1,000 kids. We have about 500 kids registered, but usually the online events the day of everyone registers. So it should be a really cool event, and we're excited to be able to serve these kids on tomorrow.
We'll be tuning in, and it was great to get to talk to you. I love hearing your story, and like I said, we know all about your high school, and I think Coach Harper and myself got to hear your head coach actually speak at the Michigan clinic as well. And he did a phenomenal job. I remember he really left a lasting impression and had some really good notes from that. He does some cool things off the field for the kids too, was basically what he talked about.
And honestly, he is probably the sole reason why I started coaching high school football. Just because it's easy to serve with a man that has integrity. And for him, his weapon of choice is integrity. And he wields it with love and caring. And I tell people all the time, the number one word that you hear at our practice is "I love you." And we use, because love is a strong word. When you love somebody, you're going to push them and challenge them to be the best that they can. And that's what we're about. You're not going to hear a whole lot of screaming and yelling. You're going to hear, "Hey man, I love you, right? And because I love you, this is how things are going to have to happen, and this is what you're going to do, and this is how we're going to will you to be great." So when you have a head coach like that, it's intoxicating to be able to coach in that environment, because you can see the fruits of your labor. You can see these kids transforming and changing, and that's the great opportunity that we have at St. Thomas.
No doubt. You can see why he lassoed you in. I think he'd be able to lasso just about anybody in and work for 3 years. He had a pretty good presence about him. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. Make sure you get those papers printed off and got to your wife so she doesn't get too upset. I think you've been sitting on them too long already. She might need them, but we appreciate it. Thank you for your time. We're looking forward to participating. We're looking at it, watching it tomorrow.